Who owns ESCOM? It's us. We don't want, we want borders. We want, hey, why do you want borders? We don't want to sell electricity there. And then come back and say, we are unemployed. The higher demand, the more jobs we are going to create for this economy. People say, Malema says, borderless Africa, he wants people without documents. How can he want people without documents when he's got documents himself? Because it's supposed to start with me. If we are in a struggle for not having documents, we must do like Mandela did and go and ban these IDs. One continental passport means that we must all be documented. And there must be an African system on where do we find each other. You can't commit crime here and run to Swaziland. We will find you because we've got an integrated system of Africa. Even when you go to China, a young person who has never been exposed to a black person, when they see you, they start trying to clean you. But it looks like you are dirty. Because that's how we're being looked at. So where do we get the privilege with so much hate happening against us? Where do we get the privilege to hate on each other? If the unity of Africa is not important, why are they fighting against it so much? If it was this useless thing that has got no meaning, why is there such a big fight? They know that the only way they could conquer Africa, they had to divide it. They divided Africa. They gave it to all types of countries to manage. Our coming together is a threat to Europe. It's a threat to America. Our coming together, it means one currency backed by our mineral resources. And that currency will be against the dollar. And it will be more powerful than the dollar. Our coming together means one parliament, which means there will never be pockets of dictators who take over governments in Africa through a barrel of a gun. Why? There is one body which makes laws for the whole of African continent. There are no separate laws. There is one president for the whole of Africa. There is one military command in the whole of Africa. The Premier of Eastern Cape stole a master's in Fort Hare University. We don't want academic dishonesty. You must go to school and don't be like these people who are leading us now. You are going to go to jail when you are old. You must ask, when you think crime pays, you are going to be arrested when you are powerless and old. The EFF is the only organization that makes sense. For you to appeal to students, you must make sense. Just ask yourself, what is the sense of the ANC? Like, what is the rationale behind? Even themselves, they will not tell you what is the sense behind them. They will tell you, we fought for you. That is the sense. We liberated you. Even the young ones from the Youth League, currently, we fought for you. Hey, you are a child when I fought for you. Fought for you. John Rhodes University, named after the most brutal colonizer, the most racist and imperialist, who would not have wanted you who are seated here to be here today. Because he hated everything else that looked like us and treated us like slaves and animals. And we are shocked that we still, 30 years after democracy, have institutions like this one, where it's supposed to be a stage for intellectual contestation, still being called after the most brutal individuals who have made our life pain and misery. Grahamstown has changed the name to Makhanda. Why can't this university change a name for a better name. Today, we have a topic to speak about good governance and security in Africa and generally about leadership. But one of the people who went through, who has been a part of this institution, is Steve Biko. Steve Biko, who came to advance during those NUSA's days the argument of why certain white liberals cannot determine our destination, argued that point from this Rhodes University. And when you've got a figure like that, not only associated with the struggles of the students at that time, but equally having an association with this part of our country, the Eastern Cape, what hesitates you from changing this university from your Rhodes to Steve Biko University? Fighters, we are invited to come and speak about good governance and security in Africa. But to be honest, there will never be a discussion about the security and good governance in Africa without acknowledging the damage that has been caused by colonizers and the imperialist forces. Africa's inability to be peace with herself, it is necessitated by the fact that colonialists want to exploit our minerals without being held accountable. It is the colonialists who are corrupting the leadership of Africa and making sure that those who are not corrupt are replaced by the corrupt puppets who will allow colonialism to continue in the African continent. Any battle you can imagine anywhere in the continent, it has got everything else to do with those who colonized us before. Today, they want to choose who are the leaders for African people. As we stand here today, Gaddafi should be an enemy of our people, according to the declaration of the Western imperialism. Because Gaddafi stood for our people. Today, Mugabe, who was a darling, if you think Mandela was loved, you must revisit your history and check when Mugabe was becoming the president of Zimbabwe after the defeat of Rhodesia. He was the most celebrated man. He was loved by everybody until he started questioning the issue of the land, that the land must be transferred from the colonizer to the people of Zimbabwe. But when he was not advocating for that, especially after the Lancaster Resolution, they thought he's one such a gentleman who will allow them to do as they wish, until he realized that he was going to pass on without transferring the means of production into the hands of our people. Today, every African leader who served for a very long time in Africa, we are told is a fascist, is undemocratic. This person is a dictator. But such words were never said about Queen Elizabeth, who ruled for more than 50 years. And it's not just monarchy, like a Zulu monarchy or Abatembu monarchy. It's a monarchy that has got powers on the political systems of Britain. There is no any prime minister in Britain who can proceed with anything else politically without the go-ahead of the Queen, now the King. No one of those prime ministers can declare a war. Only the Queen or the King can declare a war. But that person has never been democratically elected. That person has got no term of office. They serve until the grave, and they are not called fascists and dictators. They do so with our leaders because they want to impose on us the imperialist bourgeois democracy that democracy is when you go for 5 years and you are done. But as young people who are engaged in this space, you have a duty to ask yourself, how did we govern ourselves in the earlier primitive society before the arrival of the colonialists? And we're not asking here of an ancient history. Very recent, you'll realize that we were able to govern ourselves without being dictated to by the white people in terms of how we must govern ourselves. Today, we must be told that a good governance is a governance that complies with IMF or World Bank. Anything else outside that, even if your people are benefiting, you are not a good leader. Actually, you are a dictator. Let's go back to Gaddafi himself before he was killed by imperialist forces. Gaddafi nationalized the oil industry when he took over Libya. And he made sure that the people of Libya receive free health care and housing. The people of Libya actually used to get a piece of land for getting married. That's why many of you will remain single, because you realize there's going to be a problem here. I'm going to marry someone, and where are we going to stay? As a way of appreciating the young ones who are beginning to establish the family unit, Gaddafi used to thank them with a piece of land. Today, Gaddafi is an enemy because he stood against apartheid and associated with all African countries that were fighting against colonialism. Gaddafi is an enemy today because he stood with the people of Palestine. Immediately when Gaddafi died, we saw Africans being taken by force in Libya as slaves, even post-colonial period. After Gaddafi died, Libya, which we're told it was under dictatorship and the most brutal man, has never known peace. It is under the group of warlords. It is under the group of terrorists, under the militia, and the people who are forcing themselves into power through a barrel of a gun. Today, one of the most unstable countries is DRC. Lumumba did not serve too long, because when Lumumba came in, they realized that this guy is going to create independence in the DRC, where the most strategic minerals are found. Since the passing of Lumumba till to date, DRC has never known peace. They will never know peace because those who are exploiting the resources of that area are the ones who are sponsoring the rebels in that area. They don't want authorities in DRC, because authorities will mean that we must also control the airspace of Libya. And when you control the airspace, you know which plane came in to do what and went out at what time. They are sponsoring rebels, doing land strips in the forests, where they land and take the minerals undetected and leave DRC. Today, DRC was supposed to be one of the most richest countries, but the imperialist forces will not allow it to be. So Sankara was killed. And when you think Sankara was killed by his friend, that one was just the one who pulled the trigger. But there are brains behind that man who pulled the trigger, who, by the way, was a friend of Sankara. Burkina Faso would have been one of the most beautiful countries in Africa had Sankara lived long. The man who said to his people, here is the land, you must produce for the government and produce for yourself. Sankara, who loved education. Sankara, who gave our people health care. Sankara, who knew that there will never be total liberation of people if women are not liberated themselves. Sankara, who knew that a political activist must be equipped with theory of politics, because a soldier with a gun without political theory is a potential criminal. That's why political education is always important. Sankara, who said, I'm not going to be part of borrowing money from IMF and the World Bank. So these leaders, I'm singling some of them out because I want to demonstrate to you that those who seeked good for us did not stay long. If you come to South Africa, Chris Sani's crime was not because he killed anyone, was not because he was mobilizing anyone. Chris was just speaking his mind. Not because he went to mobilize the people of Alexandra, not because he went to mobilize the people of Eastern Cape against what the negotiations was talking about. He just said, this is not what we went into the bush for. If we are going to take it through a barrel of a pen and we don't fight, then you must know we'll never realize that which we went to the bush for. And they realized that this man cannot be persuaded, not even by money. And they did not waste time. They finished him off. Because when we were negotiating for our democracy and thinking it's a peaceful transition from resistance to democracy, we actually found our leaders negotiating deals instead of negotiating for democracy.